If anyone had warned Maya that her beauty would become her greatest curse, she would have dismissed them with laughter. At 23, she possessed everything a young woman could desire. Men pursued her relentlessly, friends envied her effortlessly, and her parents celebrated her as their miracle. But destiny has a peculiar way of teaching humility to the arrogant, and when her lesson arrived, it came without mercy or warning. Maya was the only daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Adele, hard-working parents in Lagos, Nigeria. Her father operated a small printing press in Surulere, spending long hours hunched over machines that left ink stains on his fingers and exhaustion in his bones. Her mother sold fabrics at Balogun Market, bargaining with customers from dawn until the market lights flickered on at dusk. Together, they sacrificed everything to send Maya to the University of Lagos to study business administration. They sold their old generator, borrowed money from their local cooperative society, and endured mockery from relatives who questioned their investment in a daughter's education. But Mr. and Mrs. Adele believed with absolute certainty that Maya would transform their family's story. The day her admission letter arrived, their entire street celebrated. Neighbors poured into their small flat, and Mama Maya danced until her wrapper nearly fell off, shouting, "My daughter will be a big businesswoman. She will manage companies." Maya promised them solemnly that she would make them proud. She swore on everything sacred that their sacrifices would not be wasted. But when she arrived on campus, surrounded by wealth and glamour she had only seen in movies, something shifted inside her. Maya wasn't just intelligent, she was breathtaking. Her chocolate skin glowed as if illuminated from within, her figure curved in ways that made people stop mid-conversation, and her smile could disarm the angriest soul. Within weeks of arriving at university, she became the most talked-about girl on campus. In lecture halls, male students whispered about her. In the cafeteria, conversations paused when she entered. By her second year, she had grown tired of the cramped hostel she shared with 3 other girls. "This place is too local for me," she complained to her roommates, wrinkling her nose at the shared bathroom and the thin mattresses. Soon, one of her many admirers, a final-year engineering student whose father owned a construction company, rented her a small but comfortable apartment in Yaba. Another suitor, a young man who worked in his family's import business, bought her the latest smartphone. A third showered her with clothes and accessories. Maya began living like a minor celebrity. She attended parties every weekend, posted carefully filtered photos on social media, and received countless messages from men offering gifts, trips, and promises. When her mother called to check on her studies, Maya would assure her that everything was perfect, even as she sat in a nail salon scrolling through offers from her latest admirers. That's when she met Mr. Taiwo. Mr. Taiwo was a successful fish farmer from a small town in Ogun State. At 45, he had built his business from nothing into a thriving operation that supplied restaurants and markets across Lagos. He wasn't handsome by conventional standards, his belly protruded over his belt, his English was heavily accented with Yoruba expressions, and he dressed simply in traditional agbada and sandals. But he possessed what Maya craved most: substantial wealth. Her friends teased her mercilessly. "Babe, why are you following this old-school uncle? He looks like somebody's grandfather." Maya laughed carelessly. "A beg, I'm just collecting his money. You think I can marry someone like that? Never." But Mr. Taiwo adored her with the intensity of a man who had waited his entire life for love. He had never married, focused instead on building his business. When he met Maya at his cousin's wedding in Ibadan, he believed his prayers had finally been answered. She was young, educated, and carried herself with elegance. He was captivated instantly. From that day forward, Mr. Taiwo gave Maya everything her heart desired. A new phone every few months, gold jewelry, expensive wigs and shoes. He even bought her a small car, a clean Toyota Corolla that made her the envy of her friends. He paid her rent and constantly told her, "Maya, I cannot allow you to suffer. I will give you everything you deserve." Maya smiled sweetly in his presence but mocked him behind his back. "I'm just enjoying his money," she told her friends over drinks. "He's not my type. I could never marry someone who smells like fish and can't even speak proper English." Mr. Taiwo never suspected her true feelings. He loved her too deeply to see the contempt in her eyes. But one morning, Maya's entire world tilted on its axis. She woke up feeling dizzy and nauseous. The smell of her favorite perfume made her stomach turn violently. Initially dismissing it as food poisoning, she became concerned when the symptoms persisted for a week. Finally, she purchased a pregnancy test from a pharmacy, her hands trembling as she paid. That afternoon, sitting alone in her bathroom, she watched 2 pink lines appear on the white stick. Her hands began shaking uncontrollably. "No, no, no," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "This cannot be happening to me." She locked herself in her bedroom for hours, sobbing into her pillow. Later that evening, when Mr. Taiwo called her with his usual cheerfulness, she could barely speak. "My dear, you sound weak. Are you feeling okay?" Maya swallowed hard, her voice breaking. "Taiwo, I'm pregnant." Silence filled the phone line for what felt like an eternity. Then Mr. Taiwo erupted with pure joy. "Pregnant? Ah, Maya. God has answered my prayers. You will give birth for me. My mother will dance until she cannot stand. This is the happiest day of my life." Maya sat frozen, shocked by his excitement. She had expected anger, disappointment, or demands. Instead, he was already planning names for their unborn child, discussing nursery colors, and promising to take care of everything. To Maya, the pregnancy was a devastating mistake that would derail her glamorous life. To Mr. Taiwo, it was the greatest blessing he had ever received. This difference in perspective would set the stage for everything that followed, a story of pride, regret, and the painful cost of taking genuine love for granted. Clapperboard if you're enjoying this story. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think Maya should do? See you in. When Maya's parents discovered her pregnancy, their small apartment in Suralere felt like a courtroom. Mama Maya wept for 3 days straight, her wrapper perpetually soaked with tears. "After everything we sacrificed," she cried, rocking back and forth. "After selling our property, after borrowing money we still haven't finished paying, this is how you repay us?" With shame. Papa Maya's reaction was quieter but more frightening. His disappointment manifested in heavy silences and eyes that refused to meet his daughter's. Finally, he asked the question that had been burning in his chest. "Who is responsible for this pregnancy?" Maya hesitated, knowing the answer would bring more pain. "His name is Mr. Taiwo," she whispered. Her father's face fell like a demolished building. "The fish farmer? The one who wears agbada everywhere? That old man?" She nodded, unable to speak. Her mother wailed louder. "An old man? Maya, what were you thinking? Your mates are graduating with honors, and you are pregnant for someone old enough to be your uncle." 2 weeks later, Mr. Taiwo arrived at their home carrying gifts, crates of drinks, tubers of yam, gallons of palm wine, and envelopes of money. He knelt before Maya's parents, his voice humble and sincere. "I know I have wronged you," he said softly. "I should have done things properly. But I genuinely love your daughter. I want to marry her the right way, with your blessings. I will take care of her and the baby. This I promise you." What choice did the Adeliks have? Their daughter was already pregnant. Sending her back to school was impossible now. Reluctantly, they accepted Mr. Taiwo's proposal, though the celebration was muted and the joy forced. 9 months later, Maya gave birth to a beautiful baby girl they named Zara. Mr. Taiwo was overjoyed. He built Maya a comfortable 3-bedroom house in his hometown, furnished it beautifully, hired a house help, and ensured she never lacked anything material. Neighbors called her Madam Fine Face, and whispered about her good fortune in landing such a generous husband. But inside that beautiful house, Maya's heart was a prison. Every time she looked at Mr. Taiwo, irritation crawled up her spine like ants. His loud laughter embarrassed her when guests visited. His simple way of dressing, always traditional attire, never the designer suits she imagined her husband wearing, made her cringe. Even the smell of fish that clung to him after work made her turn away in disgust. Mr. Taiwo loved her with a patience that seemed endless. He never raised his voice, even when she rolled her eyes at his greetings or ignored his attempts at conversation. When she complained about the house, he renovated it. When she wanted a bigger car, he bought one. No matter how coldly she treated him, he would simply smile and say, "Maya, my dear, I know that one day you will understand how much I love you." But Maya didn't want to understand. She felt trapped. While her university friends posted photos from vacations in Dubai, parties in Victoria Island, and dinners at expensive restaurants, Maya was stuck in what she considered a backward town with a man she viewed as beneath her. Sometimes she would sit alone in front of her bedroom mirror, staring at her reflection and whispering bitterly, "I'm wasting away here with a man who can't even speak English properly. This is not the life I was supposed to have." Her only source of joy was Zara. The little girl was bright, cheerful, and beautiful, a miniature version of Maya. But even her daughter's laughter couldn't fill the emptiness growing inside her. One night, as Mr. Taiwo snored softly beside her, Maya lay awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about her old life. She remembered the attention, the compliments, the feeling of being desired by multiple men. She remembered feeling powerful and free. Now she felt like a bird with clipped wings. She began avoiding her husband deliberately. She stopped cooking his favorite meals. She stopped smiling when he came home. She stopped responding when he spoke to her with affection. The warmth in their home evaporated like morning dew under a harsh sun. Mr. Taiwo noticed the change. How could he not? One evening, he approached her carefully, like someone approaching a wounded animal. "Maya, you don't seem happy with me anymore. Please tell me what I've done wrong. I will fix it." She looked at him with cold eyes. "You haven't done anything wrong, Taiwo. I'm just tired of this kind of life." His voice broke. "But I give you everything I can. You are my blessing." Maya turned away and muttered under her breath, "Then maybe your blessing is tired of you." That night, Mr. Taiwo cried silently in the darkness while Maya scrolled through her phone, chatting with old friends and dreaming of escape. Months turned into years. Zara grew into an intelligent, playful 3-year-old who adored her father. Mr. Taiwo always made time to carry her on his shoulders, take her to buy ice cream, and tell her stories. He was a devoted father, even if his wife had grown distant. Maya, meanwhile, transformed back into the party girl she had been in university. She started visiting Lagos frequently, telling Mr. Taiwo she was seeing old friends or attending events. She began dressing provocatively again, spending hours on her appearance before these trips. When Mr. Taiwo asked where she was going, she would snap, "Must you monitor my every movement? Am I your prisoner?" He would lower his head and reply quietly, "No, my wife. I just worry about you." But his patience, unlimited as it seemed, was being tested by a woman who had already made up her mind. One afternoon, while Zara played in the backyard with the house help, Maya methodically packed her belongings. She folded her finest clothes, gathered her jewelry, and stuffed everything into 2 large suitcases. Then she wrote a brief note and placed it on their bed. "Taiwo, I cannot continue living this life. Please take care of Zara. I need to find myself again." She locked the door quietly behind her, climbed into a taxi she had secretly arranged, and left without looking back. When Mr. Taiwo returned home that evening and found the note, he sat on their bed and wept like a child who had lost his mother. Zara, confused and frightened by her father's tears, came to him asking, "Papa, where is Mommy?" He pulled his daughter close, his voice trembling. "She traveled, my princess. Your mommy traveled very far away." That night, Mr. Taiwo didn't eat. He sat in his backyard until midnight, staring at the stars and wondering where he had failed as a husband. Freedom. That was the word Maya repeated to herself like a mantra the day she abandoned Mr. Taiwo's house. She convinced herself she was beginning a new chapter, that life was too precious to waste on a man she didn't love. The taxi carried her away from the small town toward Lagos, and with each kilometer, she felt lighter, as if shedding an uncomfortable skin. At first, Everything seemed perfect. She rented a modest apartment in Acadia using money she had secretly obtained by selling some of the gold jewelry Mr. Taiwo had bought her. The cash from those sales also funded a new wardrobe, expensive wigs, and a complete makeover. Within weeks, she had resurrected her old lifestyle. Parties, social gatherings, endless photos for social media, and the intoxicating attention of multiple men. Her old friends welcomed her back enthusiastically. "Maya. Babe, you finally escaped that local man," one friend squealed during their reunion at a lounge in Lekki. Maya laughed, raising her glass of wine. "A beg, I suffered enough. I'm back to living my real life." But beneath her confident exterior, something had shifted. Sometimes at night, in the silence of her empty apartment, she would remember Zara's laughter, the way her daughter would run to greet her, the feeling of those small arms wrapped around her neck. Her chest would tighten painfully, but her pride always whispered poisonous reassurances. "Don't go back. They'll laugh at you. You made the right choice." Months passed quickly. Maya began dating again, attracting young, flashy men who drove expensive cars and wore designer labels. They took her to nice restaurants, called her beautiful, and spent money on her. But these relationships never lasted. Most of these men only wanted temporary companionship, nothing serious. One by one, they disappeared from her life, leaving her with broken promises and depleted bank accounts. The money from selling her jewelry began running out faster than she expected. Rent came due. Bills piled up like accusatory fingers pointing at her poor decisions. Her friends, who had called her daily when she was buying rounds of drinks, suddenly became unavailable when she needed help. Their excuses became increasingly transparent. "Babe, I'm broke this month. My account is having issues. Let me get back to you." Life became progressively harder. Maya started selling her possessions one item at a time. First the designer bags, then the expensive shoes, then the television, and eventually even the furniture. Her apartment, once tastefully decorated, became increasingly bare. At night, she would lie on her mattress on the floor, staring at water-stained ceilings and remembering Mr. Taiwo's constant concern for her comfort. She remembered how he used to check on her, how his laughter filled their home, how he would say, "Maya, my dear, I will love you until my last breath." Now her apartment echoed with silence. No laughter, no child's voice calling mommy, just crushing emptiness. One evening, desperately hungry, Maya walked to a roadside food vendor hoping to buy a small portion of rice with the last few hundred naira in her purse. As she sat on the wooden bench, a young couple walked past, holding hands and laughing together. The woman was pregnant, glowing with happiness, and her partner was gazing at her with obvious adoration. Tears filled Maya's eyes suddenly and uncontrollably. She thought of Mr. Taiwo and Zara. What were they doing now? Had he moved on? Did Zara still remember her mother? These questions burned in her chest like acid. That night, alone in her nearly empty apartment, Maya broke down completely. She cried like a child, her body shaking with sobs, whispering to herself, "I was such a fool. I threw away the only person who genuinely loved me." The following weeks were a blur of regret and hunger. Even her once glowing skin began to fade, losing the luster that had once turned heads. The woman who had sparkled like a diamond now looked tired, worn, and lost. Her eyes, once bright with confidence, now carried the weight of remorse. She started attending church again, something she hadn't done since leaving Mr. Taiwo. She would sit in the back row during services, praying quietly, begging God for forgiveness. "Lord, I was blind," she would whisper. "I didn't see my blessings until they were gone." The pastor's sermons seemed directed specifically at her. One Sunday, he preached about the prodigal son, about pride, about taking loved ones for granted. Each word felt like an arrow piercing her heart. After service one Sunday, as other worshippers chatted happily about their lives, Maya sat alone on a bench in the church compound. She watched families, husbands and wives, children playing, the simple joy of togetherness. She realized that she had once possessed everything these people had, and she had thrown it away because it didn't match her fantasy. That afternoon, Maya made a decision that required more courage than leaving had. She would return to Mr. Taiwo's house. She would kneel before him, apologize sincerely, and beg for another chance. She would humble herself completely, admitting her mistakes and accepting responsibility for her foolish pride. She spent the next few days planning her return. She had no money for a proper gift, no nice clothes to wear, no material offering to present. All she had was her regret and her hope that Mr. Taiwo's kind heart might find room for forgiveness. On a Sunday morning, she borrowed transport money from the one friend who still answered her calls. She bathed carefully, wore her least faded dress, and braided her hair as neatly as she could manage without money for a salon. Looking in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The glamorous party girl had vanished, replaced by someone humbled by life's harsh lessons. As the bus carried her toward Mr. Taiwo's town, Maya's heart pounded with anxiety and hope. She practiced what she would say, how she would apologize, how she would beg for forgiveness. She imagined Zara running into her arms, imagined Mr. Taiwo's forgiving smile, imagined rebuilding the home she had destroyed. But life, as Maya was about to discover, doesn't always offer second chances to those who squander first ones. The sun hung high in the afternoon sky when Maya finally arrived at Mr. Taiwo's compound. She stood outside the familiar gate for what felt like an eternity, her heart hammering against her ribs. The gate she had once passed through without a second thought now seemed like the entrance to judgment itself. Fear paralyzed her. She remembered how she had left, arrogant, dismissive, without even saying goodbye to her daughter. She remembered the cruel words she had spoken, the contempt in her eyes when she looked at the man who had given her everything. Now she stood outside his home looking nothing like the glamorous woman who had walked away. Her dress was faded and worn, her slippers were held together with prayers, and her hair, though neatly braided, lacked the expensive extensions she once wore like crowns. But her eyes carried the heavy weight of shame, regret, and desperate hope. She finally gathered her courage and knocked on the gate, her hand trembling. From inside, she heard something that made her heart skip. Laughter. Deep, hearty, warm laughter. It was Mr. Taiwo's unmistakable voice. But then she heard another sound that made her blood run cold, a woman's laughter, lighter and melodious, followed by a child's delighted giggles. Maya's hand froze against the metal gate. Her breath caught in her throat. When the gate opened, she saw him. Mr. Taiwo stood there, looking somehow different from the man she remembered. He appeared healthier, more confident, and there was a peaceful contentment radiating from him that she had never noticed before. His smile was gentle when he recognized her, but it wasn't the eager, adoring smile he used to give her. This smile was polite, distant, guarded. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. The air between them felt thick with unspoken history. Then Maya's knees buckled. She fell to the ground before him, tears streaming down her face. "Taiwo, please forgive me," she sobbed, her voice breaking with emotion. "I was blind. I was foolish. I didn't know what I had. I threw away everything good because of my stupid pride. Please, I want to come home. I want to be your wife again. I'll serve you properly this time. I'll respect you. I'll love you the way you deserve. Please give me another chance." Mr. Taiwo looked down at her, his heart tightening painfully in his chest. Part of him, the part that had loved her so desperately, wanted to help her up immediately, to embrace her and forget everything that had happened. But the wound she had left had taken years to heal, and the scar tissue was thick and protective. Before he could respond, a woman stepped out from behind him. She was slim and elegant, wearing a simple but beautiful traditional wrapper. Her face was kind, her demeanor gentle. She carried little Zara on her hip. "Mommy!" Zara shouted when she saw Maya. The child wriggled out of the woman's arms and ran toward her mother, wrapping her small arms tightly around Maya's neck. Maya broke down completely. She hugged her daughter with desperate intensity, sobbing uncontrollably into the little girl's shoulder. "My baby, Mommy is so sorry," she cried, her entire body shaking. "Mommy was wrong. Mommy missed you so much. Mr. Taiwo's eyes grew moist watching the reunion, but he held his composure. He cleared his throat softly and spoke, his voice gentle but firm. Maya, I begged you to stay. I gave you everything I had. You left me when I needed you most. You abandoned Zara without even a proper goodbye. You broke my heart completely. Maya looked up at him through her tears, her face twisted with anguish. I know, Taiwo. I know. I was terrible. But I've changed. I've learned my lesson. Life taught me the hard way. Please don't shut me out. I'll do anything to make it right. Mr. Taiwo turned his gaze away, unable to look at her pain directly. I have forgiven you, Maya. Truly, I have. Holding anger in my heart was destroying me, so I let it go. But forgiveness doesn't mean I can take you back. Confusion and panic flashed across Maya's face. What do you mean? Taiwo, please. He gestured toward the woman standing quietly in the doorway. I have a wife now. Her name is Funmi. She stood by me when everyone in town was laughing at me for being abandoned. When I was broken and humiliated, when I couldn't even get out of bed some mornings, she helped me rebuild my life. She has been a wonderful mother to Zara and a faithful partner to me. I cannot betray her trust. The words hit Maya like physical blows. She looked at Funmi, who gazed back at her with compassion, not triumph. There was no mockery in Funmi's eyes, only gentle understanding. Mr. Taiwo continued, his voice softer now. You will always be Zara's mother. You can visit her whenever you want. We will never keep her from you. But I cannot be your husband again. That door is closed. He turned to Funmi and said quietly, please bring her some food and some money. She's still Zara's mother. She shouldn't leave here empty-handed. Funmi nodded kindly and went inside, returning moments later with a food flask and an envelope. She handed them to Maya with genuine sympathy. Take care of yourself, sister, she said softly. Maya clutched the items with trembling hands, watching helplessly as Zara ran back into the compound, laughing as she held Mr. Taiwo's hand. The little girl turned and waved. Bye, Mommy. Come visit me again. I will, baby, Maya choked out. Mommy will come back soon. As the gate closed slowly, Maya stood rooted to the spot, feeling the crushing weight of her choices pressing down on her chest. She whispered through her tears, watching the gate shut completely. I lost everything because of pride. I destroyed my own happiness with my own hands. She walked away slowly, her body heavy with regret. She found a small guest house near the motor park and rented a room for the night with some of the money Funmi had given her. That evening, she sat on the edge of the bed, opened the food flask, and ate slowly, each bite tasting like ashes in her mouth. For the first time in years, Maya prayed sincerely and humbly. God, she said quietly, staring at the ceiling. Thank you for opening my eyes before it was completely too late. Even if I can't go back to what I had, please give me the strength to start again. Help me become a better person. Help me be a good mother to Zara, even from a distance. She wiped her face and looked out the small window at the stars shining in the night sky. They glowed above her, silent but bright, as if reminding her that no matter how far someone falls, there's always a possibility to rise again. Not to the same place, but to somewhere new, somewhere earned through humility and growth. The weeks following Maya's rejection were the darkest of her life. She returned to Lagos carrying shame like a physical weight on her shoulders. The food and money Funmi had given her lasted only a few days. After that, reality hit harder than ever before. Maya had finally learned what her mother used to tell her: pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. She had fallen spectacularly, losing not just material comfort but something far more valuable: a family, genuine love, and her own self-respect. For several days, she barely left her sparse apartment. She lay on her mattress staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of her life, every bad decision, every opportunity she had wasted. The girl who once received messages from dozens of men now had a phone that barely rang. The woman who once posted glamorous photos daily hadn't opened social media in weeks. But something unexpected began growing inside her, not pride this time, but determination. A small seed of resolve that whispered, "This cannot be the end of your story." One morning, Maya forced herself out of bed, bathed with the last of her soap, and walked to the nearest church. It was a Wednesday morning service, sparsely attended. She sat in the back, as had become her habit, and listened to the pastor speak about redemption, about second chances not from people but from God, about rebuilding one's life on a foundation of humility instead of pride. After the service, Maya approached the pastor timidly. "Please, sir, I need guidance. I've made terrible mistakes. I've lost everything. I don't know how to start again." The elderly pastor looked at her with kind eyes. "My daughter, the fact that you're here, asking for help, means you've already started. The journey back begins with accepting where you are." He connected her with some women in the church who ran a small catering cooperative. They were preparing meals for events and needed extra hands. The work was hard, waking at 4 a.m. to prepare ingredients, cooking in hot kitchens for hours, delivering food across Lagos. The pay was modest, barely enough for rent and basic necessities. But Maya threw herself into the work with surprising dedication. The glamorous party girl who once complained about everything now peeled vegetables without complaint, stirred large pots until her arms ached, and served food with genuine humility. Her co-workers, initially skeptical of the beautiful young woman who seemed out of place, gradually began to warm to her. "This girl is not lazy, one of the older women observed. "She works hard, and she doesn't complain." Maya began saving every naira she could. She stopped buying unnecessary things, learned to manage with simple clothes, and found contentment in small pleasures. A good meal after a long day, a kind word from a coworker, the satisfaction of completing a difficult task. Most importantly, she began visiting Zara regularly. Every month, she would take a bus to Mr. Taiwo's town, bringing small gifts she could afford, a coloring book, some biscuits, a simple toy. The visits were bittersweet. She would play with Zara in the compound while Mr. Taiwo and Funmi watched from a respectful distance, giving mother and daughter space together. Funmi, surprisingly, became an unexpected ally. She never treated Maya with contempt or rivalry. Instead, she recognized that Zara needed her mother, and she facilitated those connections gracefully. Sometimes she would even prepare food for Maya to take back to Lagos. "Thank you," Maya told Funmi one afternoon, tears in her eyes. "You didn't have to be kind to me. I know I hurt everyone." Funmi smiled gently. "We've all made mistakes, sister. What matters is that you're trying to do better. Zara is blessed to have a mother who is learning to be strong." Through these visits, Maya rebuilt a relationship with her daughter. It wasn't the daily connection she had lost, but it was real and growing. Zara began calling her weekly, excitedly sharing stories about school, friends, and her life. As months turned into years, Maya transformed completely. The catering cooperative grew, and her dedication earned her a promotion to supervisor. She enrolled in a part-time business course, using the education her parents had sacrificed for, finally applying herself seriously. She moved to a better apartment, modest but clean and comfortable. She also began volunteering with young women at her church, sharing her story cautiously at first, then more openly. She talked about pride, about valuing genuine love over superficial glamour, about the cost of taking good people for granted. Some young women rolled their eyes at her advice, but others listened carefully, seeing in Maya's face the truth of hard-earned wisdom. One evening, 3 years after that devastating day at Mr. Taiwo's gate, Maya sat in her small but comfortable apartment, video calling with Zara. Her daughter, now 7 years old, was showing her a drawing she'd made at school. "Mommy, I drew our family," Zara said proudly. "That's Papa, that's Mama Funmi, that's me, and that's you. You're all in the picture because you're all my family." Maya's eyes filled with tears, but they were different tears now, not tears of regret, but of gratitude. "That's beautiful, baby. I love it." After the call ended, Maya sat quietly, reflecting on her journey. She would never get back what she had lost with Mr. Taiwo. That door had closed permanently, and she had accepted it. But she had gained something else: self-respect, inner peace, genuine relationships built on truth rather than transactions, and the knowledge that she was becoming the person she should have been all along. She had learned that beauty fades, that pride destroys, that genuine love is rare and precious. She had learned that the truly important things in life, character, integrity, humility, perseverance, are built through difficulty, not gifted through privilege. Most importantly, she had learned that falling isn't the end of the story. Rising is what defines you. Maya picked up her journal and wrote, "Today I am grateful. Not for what I have, but for who I'm becoming. I am grateful for the lessons, even though they were painful. I am grateful for my daughter, even though I cannot be with her daily. I am grateful for today's bread, even though I once had feasts. I am grateful for my journey because it taught me that true wealth isn't in gold or glamour. It's in peace, in purpose, and in becoming someone your child can be proud of." She closed her journal and looked out her window at the Lagos skyline, lights twinkling in the evening darkness. Somewhere in that vast city were young women making the same mistakes she had made, chasing illusions while overlooking blessings. She couldn't save them all, but she could share her story. She could be a living testimony that it's possible to rebuild after destroying everything. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from one of the young women at church, a 19-year-old girl who reminded Maya painfully of her younger self. "Sister Maya, thank you for your advice last Sunday. My boyfriend has been pressuring me to move in with him and drop out of school. But after hearing your story, I told him no. My education matters. My future matters. Thank you for being honest about your mistakes." Maya smiled, tears streaming down her face as she typed back, "I'm so proud of you. Stay strong. Don't let anyone make you feel like your dreams don't matter. You're worth more than you know." She set down her phone and whispered a prayer of gratitude. Her story hadn't ended in tragedy after all. It had transformed into something redemptive, a cautionary tale, yes, but also a story of resilience, growth, and hope. The following Saturday, Maya took the bus to visit Zara again. When she arrived, Mr. Taiwo was outside repairing a fishing net. He looked up when he heard the gate open and gave her a respectful nod. There was no animosity in his eyes anymore, just peaceful acknowledgement. "Good afternoon, Taiwo," Maya greeted him with genuine respect. "Good afternoon, Maya. Zara has been waiting for you all morning. She's inside with Funmi. Thank you for always letting me see her." Mr. Taiwo paused in his work and looked at her directly. "Maya, I want you to know something. I see how hard you're working to rebuild your life. I see how you've changed. Zara talks about you with pride now, not confusion. You're becoming a good mother to her, even from a distance. That takes courage." Maya's eyes welled up. "Thank you, Taiwo. That means more to me than you know. I'm sorry for everything I put you through." He nodded slowly. "I know. And I truly have forgiven you. We both have better lives now, different from what we imagined, but good. Sometimes that's how life works." At that moment, Zara burst out of the house, running straight into Maya's arms. Mommy, I got an A on my mathematics test. Papa said we could celebrate when you came." Maya lifted her daughter, spinning her around. "That's wonderful, my brilliant girl. I'm so proud of you." Funmi appeared in the doorway, smiling warmly. She had prepared a special meal, jollof rice, fried chicken, and salad. They all sat together in the backyard, sharing food and conversation. It was an unconventional family arrangement, but it worked. They had all chosen healing over bitterness, cooperation over conflict. As the afternoon sun began to set, casting golden light across the compound, Maya watched Zara play with a butterfly, her daughter's laughter filling the air. She looked at Mr. Taiwo and Funmi sitting together, at peace with each other. She felt genuine happiness for them. This wasn't the life she had planned. This wasn't the fairy tale ending where the princess gets everything back. But it was real, it was honest, and it was built on a foundation of truth rather than illusion. On the bus ride back to Lagos that evening, Maya reflected on her transformation. The glamorous girl who once measured her worth by how many men wanted her, how many likes her photos received, and how expensive her possessions were, that girl was gone. In her place was a woman who measured her worth by her character, her effort, her growth, and her ability to show up consistently for the people she loved. She thought about the moral of her own story, the lesson she had learned the hardest way possible. True value isn't found in beauty, money, or status. It's found in integrity, gratitude, and the ability to recognize genuine love when it's offered. Pride can make you throw away diamonds while chasing after broken glass. And sometimes, the greatest success in life isn't getting everything back. It's learning to build something meaningful from what remains. Maya pulled out her phone and recorded a voice note to herself, something she had started doing as a form of therapy and accountability. Today I am 3 years into my journey of rebuilding. I still don't have everything I lost, and I probably never will. But I have something better. I have peace. I have purpose. I have a daughter who loves me. I have work that fulfills me. I have friends who value me for who I am, not what I can offer them. I have learned that the most beautiful thing a person can wear isn't designer clothes or expensive jewelry. It's humility, kindness, and genuine gratitude. To anyone listening to my story someday, please learn from my mistakes. Don't wait until you've lost everything to appreciate what you have. Don't look down on people who love you sincerely just because they don't fit your fantasy. Real love, real peace, and real happiness don't come in the package we imagine. They come in honest hands, genuine hearts, and consistent actions. I pray that young women everywhere learn this lesson without having to pay the price I paid. But if you've already made my mistakes, know this: it's never too late to start again. Redemption is real. Change is possible. You just have to be willing to humble yourself and do the work. She saved the voice note and looked out the bus window at the evening sky. The stars were beginning to appear, one by one, tiny points of light pushing back against the darkness. Maya smiled. She was like those stars, small perhaps, but still shining. Still rising. Still fighting to illuminate her corner of the world, despite the darkness she had once embraced. Her story wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And perhaps that honesty would light the way for someone else stumbling in the darkness, someone who needed to hear that falling doesn't define you. How you choose to rise does. The end. Key lessons from Maya's story. 1. Pride destroys blessings. Maya had a loving husband, a beautiful home, and security, but her pride made her blind to these gifts. She valued appearance over substance and lost everything. 2. True love doesn't always come in attractive packaging. Mr. Taiwo wasn't glamorous, but his love was genuine, consistent, and selfless. Real love is shown through actions, not appearances. 3. Social media and external validation are shallow foundations. Maya built her identity on likes, comments, and attention from multiple men. When that lifestyle collapsed, she had nothing solid to stand on. 4. Education and opportunities should never be taken for granted. Maya's parents sacrificed everything for her education, but she wasted it chasing superficial pleasures. By the time she realized the value of what she'd been given, years had been lost. 5. Character matters more than beauty. Beauty fades, trends change, but character, integrity, humility, faithfulness, lasts forever and determines the quality of your life and relationships. 6. You cannot rebuild what you destroyed, but you can build something new. Maya could never get her marriage back, but she built a new life based on different values. Sometimes moving forward means accepting that certain doors have closed permanently. 7. It's never too late to change. Even after losing everything, Maya found redemption through humility, hard work, and genuine transformation. Change is always possible for those willing to do the inner work. 8. Gratitude is the antidote to destructive pride. Maya's ingratitude poisoned her ability to see her blessings. Learning gratitude transformed her perspective and her life. Clapperboard, thank you so much for following Maya's complete journey. This final chapter teaches us that redemption is possible, but some consequences are permanent. What was your biggest takeaway from this story? Share in the comments below. If this story touched your heart or taught you something valuable, please like this video, thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful life lessons and stories. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Turn on notifications bell so you never miss our next story.